So I guess the project today, remove the back end off of this. Starting off with the rear body mount. See if I can find the right size screwdriver. And why can I never find the right size of something? It's probably this one. It is. Okay. Take off the body mount because we're not going to be using that. I bought a Proline Dodge Ram body for this conversion. So it required a Proline body mount kit. Alright, so once we've taken that off, we're going to start figuring out how to remove the back section. And I got a feeling it's easier than I think. I think it's just a couple of screws there. And maybe a couple of screws in here. And I think it should come off. Alright, I've got the 3 of the screws removed, and this is the 4th. I'm going to see if this thing comes apart. How easy. And I'm going to have to change this sled tray, this piece here. Come on out of there, you. There we go. I don't know. Let's see here. Yep, it just comes apart like that. Nothing to it. Okay, 4 screws. Now I've got to take out the slipper clutch program, which should just come out like that, and it does. And I got to save that because clearly we're going to need that baby. And then the chassis is basically ready for dismantlement. Okay, well, what you can't see offline is that I'm using an iPad, and I've got the Traxxas low center of gravity instructions. I mean, these are the instructions you get. This is one of the reasons why I'm making this video. Now, there are a couple of videos, and I'll put links to them because there was a couple of really good videos about the conversion from a slash to a slash low center of gravity step by step.
Here's another valuable lesson alert, this one for a helpful YouTube video. Look for a link in the description to a video from Dark Ecliptic Heart. It's part of his Traxxas Slash Upgrade series, and it's level 10 upgrade LCG conversion. Search for it or just click on the link and take a look at it because it was very helpful for me and it will be for you too.
From what I can see, this wheelie bar situation is going to have to come off. Has a couple screws there, and then a couple screws on the bottom. And it looks like the screw in the back. And we'll start at that. The 2 on the top and the 2 on the bottom removed. Extend my screwdriver a little bit here, see if I can get this thing out. This is the one that I think is going to be the one that takes the whole wheelie bar situation off. Alright, so those are those screws. That's the longest one of the 3 small ones. I don't know. It's not coming off. Oh, there we go. We got something going on. Yeah, wheelie bar's off. May as well do that. Take the pins off. Take the pins out. The lower control arms will flop away. And now I gotta get that tray off. This tray. It's gonna be a couple more screws. I think that's it. Alright, that's that. She's off. I guess you got to be careful not to go too far. We don't want to take these axles apart. But we want to get this off. I'm trying to see what else is holding that thing on. No, I don't think so. Oh, and that's it. A couple of screws. We got bag number C from the kit from Traxxas. Of course, it's got to be cut open. This comes with 4 screws. They look all the same. 2 are a little shorter. So that's the way it's going to go. It just slides right on there. You just line those 4 screw holes up. There's nothing really stopping me from putting the wheelie bars back on this whole situation here because it fits with this new front plate. But I did buy, and RPM rear bumper, because everybody said I needed a rear bumper. Okay, so what I got to do is I got to get this slid into here and his slid into there, and get these shafts, these pins stuck back in. I figured it out. It's all only hold your tongue. So they go in, they leave about 1/4 of an inch gap. Then you get this little blue thing that goes over top of this. You're using the bumper from RPM. This screw in the middle has to go on first. I know that goes on, so that only goes on one way. All right, let me see if I can find the right screw for this. Push this out of the way so you can see. This is the RPM rear bumper kit. It has a lot of screws. Probably the ones I need. There are instructions, so I'll take a look at these and put it together, and then we'll mount it to the car. See what screws are left over from that. Yep, there's actually a right and left side to this on the RPM bumper. Got the bumper built, and now we attach it to the setup here. And see, so I'm gonna have to put a screw in here first. So I'll take this one. It's a little bit shorter because it's not going through anything. Screw goes on its own. I'm gonna get this nailed down, and then I'm gonna mount this bumper on it to show you what it looks like. The ones that came out of there. Just the bumper screws. As they say, is that's the back end put together. I don't know if you can see this, but just like in the front, the bumper actually holds in those two little posts, the pins that hold the lower control arms on. Alright, so that's the rear end done. Set that aside. Well, as you saw in the earlier video, I bent the front shock on the Stampede when it was just a baby. And now that I've got it all torn apart, I think it's time for me to actually put new shocks on. Well, rather than replace one, I bought a set of 4 of these aluminum shocks. They're from HR. These are got aluminum adjusters as opposed to those preload spacers that Traxxas uses, which I'm not a real fan of the looks of them or how they work. So this gives me a little bit more, I think, on-the-fly adjustment. And but I think the first thing I got to do is fill them up with fluid. Take a look at them. Well, they are pretty substantial shocks. Well, they're impressive. Not bad. They're not bad at all. Well, when I went to Chris's hobby shop, this is the Juicy regular, the fluid, the shock fluid that he recommended. 37.5 weight. I don't know. I don't know what's good. I've read all kind of stuff online about what's better, but go. So this should come off like that. And the spring comes off. And now I gotta get this to come off. Nothing to it. This should go up and down. I hope I'm doing this right. 3/4 full to start. And you're supposed to pump this up and down until there's no bubbles left. They say do this about 20 times and then fill it to the top. So we're learning together here. Alright. Well, that, as far as I can see, is probably good. But you see it drew in, 3/16 of an inch of fluid. So I'm going to fill this one up, put the cap on, do that 3 more times, and we'll move on to the next step. This has probably got nothing to do with it, but I would like to see where the preload is set. So I think I'm going to set the preload. This is where they came out of the bag. So I'm going to set the preload to 0.25 of an inch on, I guess I'll do it on all four, and then at least I'll know they're the same. That's 255. Maybe a little much. That's 2.5. That's where we're going to set them. So, looks like that part goes to the top. And then you compress it down to put the base plate on. And that's shock number 1, complete. Let's do the other 3. Alright, so we've got the shocks all filled. I've got the preload on them set. On the fronts, I set them at 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. And on the rears, the one they came out of the bag at 0.26 right on the nose, so that sounded like a good place to leave it. We'll start with the bottom screw. I think it's just one screw. I don't think there's a nut. And right now it's in the most outside hole. Not the most outside hole. There's like a half a hole. Probably could go further. I guess if I could recommend something is to buy individual screwdrivers. That's probably the next thing I'll go and buy. Yeah. With Traxxas, they've got a shoulder on the screw. So what I'm going to try and do is find parts that will make this look like that, same depth. Alright, for these shocks, it was a bit of a challenge. So, at the bottom, I was trying to get it spaced so that it was the same shank width, and it ended up being the small aluminum spacer slid in behind the shock, which was very difficult to get it in there. But I mean, it's just fussy. The top was not as hard. It comes with a ball that fits in here, and although there is no spinning on the top of the Traxxas shock, there's actually no spinning at all. I guess it depends. This is tight square. The factory one is square. 2 shocks mounted, both put in the original place. Just snug them up now. Don't want to over torque them because you don't want anything stripped, because it's just going into plastic. But everything is tight and looking good. Alright, so that wasn't so hard. It was fussy, like I say, putting that bottom piece in, because you're dealing inside of a channel that, with gravity and the springs bouncing everywhere. But long story short, once it's in, it looks really good, and I don't know, bounces okay. It's very stiff. Okay, that was fussier than the back, but you can see now this one is just bent. I don't know how I did it, but it doesn't go past that, and anyway, it's a mess. So that's for the bin. So that's the bent one replaced. Now we'll just replace the other one to match. And I'll tell you, this bottom thing, it's not fun. Well, it's fun, but it's frustrating a little bit.